So, in an interesting turn of events, Wells Fargo has pulled a mulligan and decided to open up personal lines of credit again. Sort of. Let's talk about it. Hey y'all, Credit Solutionist here from FixMyFICONow.com. We are your one-stop shop for common sense credit tips 2 to 3 times a week. So if that's something that you're into, subscribe and give us a thumbs up on the video because likes are free, y'all, unlike my credit repair services. I'm just saying. For those of you that aren't familiar with banking, Wells Fargo is the redheaded stepchild of the financial industry. Let's compare them to the Kardashians for context. I would say Chase is number one at $2.87 trillion in assets. This I would compare to Kim Kardashian. It's really refined looking on the surface. It's had a lot of dirt happen, but there's something about it that just makes you want more. Then number two, you have Bank of America coming in at $2.16 trillion in assets. Bank of America is reliable, slightly boring, and very predictable. Just like Kourtney Kardashian, right? It's always going to be there no matter what, right? Then you have Wells Fargo. That's painfully similar to Khloe Kardashian. Always trying to keep up. All of her messes in the streets. She's making all kinds of mistakes everywhere, but because she makes a lot of money, we keep her around. Don't come for me, Kardashian fans. I'm just trying to simplify banking for you. So unless you've been under a financial rock for the last month, you've heard the story about Wells Fargo removing personal lines of credit from their arsenal of products. This wouldn't be a big deal under normal circumstances. Banks and companies change their products all the time. Heck, I do it at PX Credit Solutions all the time. It's not a big deal. What was a big deal is some information we're going to cover later on in the video, but it was mostly the devil may care attitude that Wells Fargo had. Despite the fact that they were removing this product and the effect it was going to have on the consumers, they just kind of threw their hands up and said, oh well. When this story first came across my newsfeed, I was flabbergasted. I could not imagine how one of the big 3 banks would go so far as to close personal lines of credit and make this product obsolete. Not only did Wells Fargo close off the opportunity for new clients to get personal lines of credit, they also closed the existing accounts for people that had personal lines of credit with the bank, no matter how old the accounts were and no matter how long these people were clients with Wells Fargo, and also whether or not they had an open balance. Okay, Khloe Kardashian, nothing wrong could happen there, right? Wrong. In order to understand the depth of what happened, you have to understand what a personal line of credit is versus a personal loan. Now, Wells Fargo tried to tell their clients, hey, we're going to close your personal lines of credit, but we're going to offer you a personal loan in exchange. Okay, let me explain to you why the Khloe Kardashian of the banking industry is shady for doing this. Now, a personal line of credit is essentially a lump sum of cash that is put into a bank account that you can pull from whenever you need to, and you only owe a payment on it when you use it. So you could essentially have $10,000 sitting in a bank account for 5 years if you wanted to, and not owe a balance on it because you're not using it, so you don't have to make any payments. A personal loan, on the other hand, would be $10,000 that the bank would give to you, and you have to start making payments every single month with interest, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you use the account or not. Now you can kind of see why Wells Fargo is leaning more towards the personal loan side versus the personal line of credit side, right? Clo is shady, right? Here's why it matters. If you have an open account that has a balance on it, like a personal line of credit with Wells Fargo, and they close it while you still have a balance, well, guess what? You now have a closed account with a balance showing on your credit report. Do you know what other accounts show up as closed with a balance? Collections, write-offs, derogatories, charge-offs, all the good juicy stuff that you call my business for to fix for you. So Wells Fargo essentially just shot off the kneecaps of all of their clients during a bull run in Spain, okay? Not only did they really ruin everybody's credit report, but this decision to remove this wonderful financial product is coming off of the heels of like 15 years worth of scandals that this business has really gone through. So it doesn't really look like this is a business decision where it's going to help them streamline products and make it better for the client. It almost sounds like this is making it better for Wells Fargo somewhere in their books. All right, y'all, don't come for me, but it's kind of late and I had to break out the bourbon because the story gets a little juicy, right? Now, I'm going to turn this way because this video is not sponsored by this bourbon company. Now, back in 2011, the CEO of Wells Fargo, whose name was John Stumpf, created a mantra for all of his branch managers and bankers alike called 8 is great. Now, the premise behind 8 is great is that each client that came into the Wells Fargo branch as a new customer should have 8 types of financial products attached to their name. Now, whether that was checking accounts, multiple savings accounts, CDs, or credit cards, John Stumpf didn't care. All he cared about was making the actual quota, right? Now, if you have ever worked in sales, which I totally have, and it was not for me, baby, oh my Lord. When your manager hits you with that goal every single month, you do whatever you can and fight tooth and nail to get it done. Could you imagine the pressure that these bankers had to feel having the CEO tell them 8 is great? If he's saying that, you can imagine how the branch manager was coming down or the regional manager was coming down. There was a lot of pressure that was put on these banks and all of these branches to get 8 products with each client. Imagine your grandma. Do you think your grandma, who's only making Social Security, really needs 8 financial products? She's already got one foot in the grave. Not being shady, it's just the facts. Let's go through a list, right? You could have a checking, a savings, an interest checking, a money market, a CD, probably an IRA, maybe a Roth IRA, and then I don't know, maybe a couple of credit cards, right? Okay, that sounds good if you're like 25, but I can't see that being necessary for somebody that's of a certain age or somebody that's in a lower income bracket. So from the start, the CEO's idea of 8 is great was super unrealistic and not attainable. A lot of the tellers and the bankers and the branch managers encourage their workers to open fraudulent accounts for clients. So if I walked in 2011 or 2012 or whatever time, they would literally take all of my information and create fake accounts that I didn't authorize them to open. Amazing. I have a hard time believing that the CEO did not encourage this. The creation of all of these accounts resulted in 1.5 million fraudulent fake accounts that were not opened by the actual client. And then it also resulted in 500,000 fraudulent credit accounts. This is Wells Fargo. So Los Angeles Times did a hit piece about this fraudulent practice that was going on with Wells Fargo. It resulted in the city of Los Angeles filing a lawsuit against Wells Fargo for these practices, right? Wells Fargo basically ended up paying $185 million in fines because of this lawsuit. It resulted in a big overhaul of how they did business, and 8 is great was literally thrown out the window. The CEO had to resign, and the banking industry basically looked at Wells Fargo like they were persona non grata. So level with me. The credit solutionist in me hates what this man did. The hustler in me, however, understands it. This is the kind of guy that probably cheated his way through college and has been rewarded every day of his life ever since. If you've ever worked in sales too, you know the best salesman on the floor is always the one that's going to do something strange for a piece of change. Am I right or am I right? There's no way that all of this was happening on this guy's watch and he didn't know. What are your thoughts on this, by the way? Stop what you're doing right now and leave a comment below. I want to know what you think about this. Like, are you with what he did or do you think it's kind of shady? So the story doesn't end there. I mean, Wells Fargo has paid upwards of $3 billion in fines over the last 20 years because of their nefarious behavior. Now, because of, I just feel like maybe I was being a little hard on Wells Fargo in this video. I will throw them a bone, and this is the only bone. The clients whose personal lines of credit were closed knew that these accounts were going to get closed for over a year. Wells Fargo sent out letters to everybody in May 2020 telling them that they needed to start paying off these bills because these accounts were going to close in July 2021. They told them that's a year and 2 months, okay? That was a long time. So that's the part that the media isn't really sharing with you. And because I'm objective, I do feel that it's right to share that with you. Okay, so that's it, Wells Fargo. There is a silver lining here. Wells Fargo has decided to overturn their decision, and personal lines of credit for existing clients will be opened again, all right? Now, the stipulation here is that you have to have used your personal line of credit in some form or fashion in the last 12 months. Because let's be honest, if you haven't used a credit product in 12 months, you don't need it, and you're just having it to sit there, not even for a rainy day. Never rains in Southern California after all. All right, that was cheesy. I honestly think that they did it because there was just too much fire that was lit under their butts. So it resulted in a very happy ending for at least some of the clients. The reasoning behind why they're doing what they're doing with all of their banking products is really just one, to save their butt. Number two, they have shareholders that they have to please. And number three, they can do what they want to do because they're one of the big three. So let me know in the comments below what you think is the reasoning behind Wells Fargo doing what they did with this particular stunt. I would love to hear your feedback. And do you have a personal line of credit with Wells Fargo? I would love to hear about your experience. All right, guys, that is it for this video. I will see you on the next one. Credit Solutionist out.